You're either new to selling on eBay or you're thinking about getting started as a reseller on eBay, maybe part-time or maybe taking that jump to full-time. But before you begin, there's some things that I need to tell you before you get started, some things that you need to know. So without any further ado, let's go. Welcome back to the channel. This is John. And for those of you who've never watched my videos, I'm a full-time eBay reseller. I sell on other platforms too, but primarily eBay. And I make these videos on YouTube to help others. And in your case, if you're watching this video, you're probably trying to learn and you're probably a beginner trying to figure this whole thing out. So before I begin, do me a favor, hit that like button for me. We do take a lot of time and effort to make these videos. Also, consider subscribing to my channel. If you find this information useful, please hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when I make a live stream or a video. And we cover a lot of stuff on this channel, and primarily we try to help other people learn. So if you're a beginner and you're learning, this is exactly the channel you should be subscribed to. So I'm going to begin now. I have 5 things that I want to talk about today that's going to help you as a beginner selling on eBay. Now, you can carry a lot of these concepts over to the other platforms, but I'm specifically going to talk to you today about eBay, and as a beginning seller, some things that you should definitely know about, and I would definitely recommend you follow these steps because I was a beginner myself. I've been selling on eBay since 2002, and I've learned a lot of things along the way, and hopefully I can pass that knowledge on to you. Tip number 1, start reselling on eBay with just the things that you have around your house. And it could be really anything, but don't limit these things to clothing or just the basics. For instance, I'll give you an example, something that I just came across. Recently, we went out and bought a Dyson vacuum, very great vacuum, but it's used so much around my house that it's pretty much made my Roomba vacuum cleaner obsolete. Had it for a couple years, kind of dusty, right? So what we're gonna do is, I always recommend, of course, with anything that you have around the house, clean your stuff, guys. I've seen too many items on eBay being sold and it's dusty, dirty, and just, a little spray, a little cleaner, clean this thing up, right? Before you take your photos. It may seem obvious, but you'll be surprised the number of listings that I see where that's not being done. And when you're making a sale on eBay, if you have clear photos and the photos show an item that looks clean versus dirty and beat up, you're not only going to get the sale in most cases, but you're going to get the sale at a higher price in most cases. So keep that in mind. Things around your house can be electronics. Electronics sell really well on eBay. Can be household goods. Keep in mind though, that people generally don't want stuff that's banged up, dented, beat up. Yes, there's a market for it, but keep in mind, condition really matters. Find things you're not using. Maybe you have something in the closet. Maybe someone bought you something for a gift maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, and it's just sitting there. You're not using it. Maybe you have a collectible you've been sitting on. These are all great things to start off with because it boils down to a number of factors, but if you are going out just to buy stuff, you're going to possibly make a mistake. And it's better to make a mistake with stuff you have zero cost in rather than buying a $10, $20, $30 item and maybe it doesn't sell for you. If you're not able to sell that item that you pulled out of your closet, theoretically, you have zero cost in that item and you're not going to be out any money if that item has no value or if you just aren't willing to sell that item at the current rate that it's selling for on eBay. Get your supplies for free on USPS.com. So you'll have to go on to USPS.com, create a free account. These are free supplies, and they'll deliver it to you for free. And as long as you're using the supplies as they're intended, then it's really no big deal. It's not going to cost you anything. And it's a good way to get started. And you should, of course, supplement these supplies with maybe go out and buy a roll of bubble wrap. The small bubbles will do just fine. You can find it at Walmart, Office Depot. I wouldn't recommend you go out and order a big, supply of bubble wrap, because again, as a beginning reseller, you may not know if this is something that you want to do. And the last thing that you want to do is go out and buy a lot of expensive supplies that you may not even utilize. So go out and buy the small little rolls like at Walmart or Office Depot or Staples, and use that first while you're getting the hang of it. And so we're going to go over to my computer, and I'm going to just give you an idea and show you some of the supplies that's available to you for free. So what we want to do is we want to log into the USPS.com website. And once we're there, we want to scroll our mouse over to where it says Shop, and then Shipping Supplies on the drop-down menu. So you click on that, and by default, USPS will give you this search bar. And you can scroll without using the search bar. If you want to look for something in particular, you can type that in here. I don't know why they put it flat in the middle of the screen, but we'll work around it just to show you what some of the items are here that are offered. Now, generally speaking, these supplies are usually free, but as you can see, there are some items that do cost, like these click and ship single labels. Generally, what I do is I stay away from the flat rate boxes. So this is medium flat rate box. If you can see it, I'll try to maybe make it bigger or smaller. I apologize so you can see this. But this medium flat rate box, it's you can order in single packs of 10 or 25, and that's usually the case with most of these supplies. You can order them in packs of 10 or 25, and they're delivered to you for free to whatever address you're enrolled in when you sign up on USPS.com. So yes, you actually have to create an account on here, but it doesn't cost anything. And if you stick to the free stuff, now remember one thing about supplies. These are boxes that are being sent to you so that you can reuse them for USPS priority mail. And sometimes there's express and stuff. You cannot use these boxes for first class. You cannot use them for UPS. You cannot use them for FedEx packages. They're only good for what's written on the outside. So if you have a priority mail box, you can use it for priority mail. If it's flat rate, you have to use it only for flat rate. If it's a mailbox, they have some that some of these boxes do not require you to use a flat rate. You can use it for that, but you cannot use an express box for priority mail and vice versa. So like here's a good one right here. We have a priority mail shoe box, pack of 10 or 25 again, and this will fit generally I'd say an average size men's shoe and most women's sizes, and it's very good to have if you maybe don't have a shoe box that came with your shoes that you've sold. Here's another one also, priority mail padded flat rate envelope. So what I have is I have these priority mail shoe boxes. I have some on hand there, and I have a lot of these priority mail padded flat rate envelope. It's the only flat rate item that I will use from USPS.com, because if you have an item that's over 1 pound, this in most cases, unless the address you're shipping it to is very close to your address, it's best if you can fit this, and usually you could fit most small items that have some heft to them. I really can't give you a good example just off the top of my head, but it's definitely worth at least having these on hand, because these can save you potentially $3, $4, $5 on average as compared to just shipping that same item that might be over a pound any other way with priority mail. Um, so yes, so these, like right here, you have a Mail Express, or they're dual use, Priority Mail Express. So on one side it says Express, the other side it says Priority Mail. You can use them interchangeably, and these are good for like maybe posters, or sometimes golf clubs. I think though you'd have to get the larger ones for that. So this just gives you an idea, and once you've selected the supplies you need, you then go to checkout, and again, it's free as long as you stay away from the stuff that's costing you money. Like I said, most items are free on here, but don't abuse the program and don't order more than what you need. So it's a very good idea when you're first starting to just order maybe a pack of 10 here, a pack of 10 there, and see what kind of items you're selling, and then come back and see if there's any boxes that will meet those needs. Now, this is the flip side, would be you'd go out and buy your own boxes and things of that nature. But when you're first starting, stick with these free boxes as long as you're using USPS priority mail. If you're using UPS and FedEx, you're going to probably have to go and buy your boxes on Amazon, or your preferred method of buying your supplies. So that is one of my tips that you definitely should take advantage of. You will save a lot of money on supplies, on boxes, and in this case the padded flat rate envelope, and they have other envelopes as well that you can also utilize, just depending on what you sell. But take advantage of this, because it definitely will save you money. Tip number 3. Just with anything that you do that you're not familiar with and you're doing for the first time, you want to make sure that you understand the basics, in this case, of eBay. Since it's a new task, a new thing, you don't want to be making a lot of mistakes. And I can tell you, as a new reseller, when I really first started doing this, and when I did it full time, I can tell you that I made mistakes. And the number one mistake that I made was not charging enough for shipping, or not selling my item. If you're offering free shipping, not selling your item for a high enough price to cover your eBay fees and your shipping. If your items are small, under 18 inches, if your packages, once you're package your item and it's under 18 inches in any given dimension, then you can ship your item possibly first class, as long as that item is under a pound. Now, eBay labels will allow you to ship an item that is up to 1 pound as a first class item. And so it's best to find items that are small so you can take advantage of cheaper shipping. I find, though, that any items that are large, or more than 3 pounds, generally it's best to ship UPS and or FedEx, because if you're shipping across country, USPS priority mail just doesn't give you the best bang for your buck. And so it's best to kind of understand that if you're dealing with an item that's, say, over 3 pounds or quite large, you may want to use calculated shipping rather than use free shipping. Because if you're selling an item for $20 and you have a fairly large item and it's going across country, chances are, after fees and after shipping, you could lose money. And that's the last thing that you want to do. It's a mistake I've made when I first started doing this full time, and some of the part-time things. But in the past, I was selling small things. But when I started selling larger items, when I went full time, I ran into a couple situations where I actually lost money on the deal. And that's the last thing that you want to do as a reseller. And things like that, buy it now versus auctions. I can tell you that for whatever reason, if you're using the app to list on eBay, they sort of give you auction as the first option when you're listing something. I always make sure I turn that off. Honestly, auctions aren't the best way to go, in my opinion. I would say do a buy it now, set your price, based on your research that hopefully you'll do. If you watch some of my videos, you'll learn how to do that. But learn the difference between auction and buy it now. Auction is a situation where I'm going to list my item at a low starting price. And if it's a high enough demand item, people will bid against each other and bring that item up in price. The problem is most people want that item now, and they're not interested in buying an item that way through auction. They want to buy it now. And while auctions can and do work, you really should only do auctions on items that have high demand, like for instance, an Apple AirPods, a lot of Apple products, a lot of different electronics that are high-end items that are really in demand. Just as an example, there's thousands of items you can sell that are in high demand. But as a beginning seller, you don't want to get caught up into all that unless you know for a fact your item has high demand. And even then, I would just find the going rate for that particular item and sell it as a buy it now situation. Now, you need to learn how to do your own research. You need to learn the basics, right? And so just in general, if I have those Apple AirPods, I'll type in Apple AirPods, or you can enter in the barcode number, the UPC number, into a search bar on eBay, and it will come up with results of what people are selling it for. If you want to see what those items have sold for, you can go down the left-hand column, and there's filters there. That's what they're called, filters. And you click on the sold filter, and it'll give you an idea of what that item has sold for. And sometimes you'll see it says brand new, sometimes open box, sometimes pre-owned, and your conditions do matter. And that's another thing. You need to represent your conditions appropriately. If it's brand new and shrink wrap, never been opened, that type of situation, you can classify it as new. If it's the box has been opened, you've gone through it, maybe it's been tried out once or twice, like a lot of customer return items that I deal with, that would be a open box situation. And if something looks like it's been used, or you just have used it for a while, it's been in your closet and you just haven't used it recently and you're reselling it, you'd want to make sure you put in pre-owned. So there's all kinds of things. I could probably spend about a half an hour on just things like that with eBay that you need to be familiar with. But it all starts with maybe going to community forums, watching more of these YouTube videos for beginners, because there's some other great ideas. I really don't want to spend an hour going over all those things because I want to cover the 5. And I got a bonus tip for you guys. Tip number 4 ties in with really tip number 2. And that is, don't go out and buy a ton of supplies, and don't go out and buy a ton of goods right away. Like we said, start off with the stuff in your house, in your closet, in your attic, in your basement, things that you're not using, things that have value, okay? So don't go out and buy a liquidation pallet, because you may just be in over your head and may not want to do this. Make sure this is something that is going to be sustainable, and make sure it's going to be something that's going to work for you. Don't go out and buy a bunch of bubble wrap. Don't go out and buy a bunch of poly bags, which is something I would recommend. Poly bags are definitely the way to go. But don't go out and buy a lot of that stuff until you really get going and get beyond step 1, which is sell things out of your house. If after selling things out of your house, you decide that, hey, this is going to be something that I can do, it's not going to be something that maybe bores me. It's not going to be something that if I run into an issue or a problem, it's going to turn me away from wanting to be a reseller. While you should start off buying maybe a simple scale, like a $10 scale, you can buy them on Amazon, maybe a tape gun with some clear shipping tape, and of course, maybe a tape measurer. Aside from that, I wouldn't go out and buy, like, let's say, a heat gun for labels and stickers. Your hairdryer will work just fine. Don't go out and buy that fancy computer or that second monitor or, that extra fancy shelving and all that stuff, because the last thing you want to do is be stuck with a lot of stuff that you're not going to use because maybe you've changed your mind and decided that you're not going to do this. Tip number 5, and I think it's very important, but as a new reseller, you need to make sure you keep track of your cost of goods. It's very easy to lose track of that and put all the money you're making from eBay into your bills. And most of us are doing this either for extra money, for play money, but most of us are doing it for our bills to supplement or maybe as a full-time income. But the biggest trap you can fall into is not keeping the money that you've invested in goods once you start getting out and buying stuff to resell. If you're not, once you sell that item, if you're not pulling those cost of goods back out of your profits, then you're going to find a situation where, you're selling all these items and I don't have any money left after I paid my bills to go out and buy more stuff. So as a general rule, if this item cost me $5 to purchase, maybe I will pull 7 to 10 out of that sale to put into more merchandise. So not only does that replace the merchandise that you've sold, but it allows you to grow and build a budget to buy more stuff, better stuff, and it helps your business grow. Because if you just pull what your cost of goods for that item, you're going to stay stagnant as a seller. Now that's better than not pulling it at all, because some sellers fall into that trap initially where my initial nest egg, I get through and sell all these items and I pocket all this profit, but I have no money now to go out and buy new stuff. So that's probably one of the more important ones to consider, that a lot of resellers, new resellers, fall into that trap. Now, guys, I want to thank you for spending this time with me. Before we get to that last bonus, I want to ask you to do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I would really appreciate that if you do that for me. Now, my bonus tip is something that I probably should have said from the beginning, but I think it's very important. And for those of you who were wise enough to stick around, get to hear this advice. And that is, don't quit your day job if you can help it. And I say that in that if you have no experience on eBay as a reseller, the last thing you want to do is go out and quit your job, go out and buy a pallet and say, you know what, I've got this. Because the name of this channel is called Flippin' Ain't Easy, and it's that way for a reason. We have experienced sellers who watch this channel, contribute to the comments, and comment down below if you have any comments you'd like to contribute. But even as a full-time experienced reseller, I run into roadblocks all the time. And if I didn't have that experience to fall back on, I'd lose quite a bit of money. The last thing you want to do as a new reseller, because you're going to hit those bumps and snags as you go, is to start this business and you're not making money for the first few months. And that's definitely possible, because we don't always source the best when we're new. We don't always use the best practices when we're new. We're going to make mistakes that cost us money. And that's just the reality of it. So you're better off trying these things. Sell the stuff in your house. Get the experience under your belt while you have a job or while you're working part-time, and deal with, even if you have a boss you just can't stand, or you're dealing with the situation at work and you're just wanting to get away from that stressful situation, endure it if you can, and try eBay and make sure it's going to work for you before you get out there and spend all this money on product. And also, if you can help it, the idea is you want to have a nest egg of money in the bank so you can fall back on. Because again, as a new seller, you're going to have a limited number of listings that eBay is going to allow you to start off with. I believe after the first 90 days, they do increase it based on your performance. But usually 100 listings isn't enough to sustain you to make, whatever money you need to make. So just remember, start this process if you can. Keep your day job, keep whatever income, and you know what? You may be working your butt off on an 8-hour job, 40 hours a week, maybe even more hours than that. But find the time to get started on eBay, see if it's something you like, see if you can make money at this, because there's a lot of people get out there, find out that they just can't do it. I had a friend that went in halves on a pallet with me, and he sold some things on eBay before, but not really even as a part-time basis, just an item here and an item there. And after his first return, and you're going to get returns, after his first return, he was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. He would rather actually go out and get a part-time job making a little more than minimum wage than to resell on eBay. So this is not cut out for everyone. And don't rush to become a full-time reseller without having experience under your belt. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. And at the end of this video, I have my email address, also my Instagram, and you are welcome to send me a message. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So I want to leave you guys with this. Once you get started, just make sure you get into the habit of making those listings, because eventually you're going to make those sales. And as a new seller, you're going to find one thing out if you stick with it, that flipping ain't easy. And we're going to see you guys here in the next couple days with another great video, and we'll see you soon.